to a brand new video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how there's going to be a massive SBC drop today, how the market's going to react and where you guys can go and invest. But before we do go and start the video, if you guys are interested, I do offer a daily subscriber trading service over on Twitch. All you got to do is subscribe subscribe over on Twitch. It is either free with Amazon Prime, if not it's £5, €5 or $6. In there you get yourself daily investments up until the 1st of February, and from the 1st of February we're going to split, but there's still be loads of investments. An investment that's done really well recently was in from Harry Kane, who we recommended just a few days ago at 36k. You can see there would have been quite easily achievable at 36k. Well, in the matter of a few days, he's already up to 48k. So you'd already be looking at about 10k profit per card on like Harry Kane. And we're also very early to all these fodder rises we've had recently. We've just, I guess, already talked about them in previous videos about how we had those investments. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about how there is a massive SBC, more likely than not, coming today. And that is because we've got ourselves a Stam SBC leaked, 1 million coins. We've got ourselves a Patrick Vieira SBC leaked, 1.4 million coins. Or if EA want, they can go and drop a Ronaldinho SBC, 3.2 million coins. So other than Koeman, who'll probably only be a few 100k, we have got a very high chance of a massive SBC coming today. And if it doesn't come today, well then it'll go and come on, you know, for the next 3 days, for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're likely to go and get Vieira, Ronaldinho and Stam. So yeah, insanely massive SBCs to come. But how's the market going to react? Should you go and panic sell your players? Should you go and, you know, what should you go and do? When should you go and buy the players that have been panic sold? Can I go and buy some investments? Will link investments work? Well, let's go and have a little talk about what we expect. Now, the first thing I guess we will talk about is how did these players react with Jairzinho? Because the idea is whatever happened for Jairzinho should happen for these players here. So let's have a little look at how these reacted with Jairzinho. Jairzinho obviously came out on the Saturday, and well, since we've seen the likes of 88s, and they've gone from an 11k and they're up there to 13k. We can go and see 89s. How did these cards go and react? Well, they were 15k and now they're moving on to 20k and probably going to go extinct. We can then go and see how did the likes of 90s react, and they went from 19k and they went to 24k on the day, and they're now up to 27. And then how did 91s react? Well, we can see on the Saturday before anything came out, they're 25k and they're up to 40k and also pushing to go extinct. So we saw fodder absolutely boom with the likes of Jairzinho, and I'll be completely honest with you, as long as we get Stam, well, any of them apart from Koeman, I expect them to do very well again. Now, one thing you do have to be aware of is that a lot of their rise, maybe or partially their rise, can be credited to the repeatable icon pack. So maybe necessarily not all of the rise was the icon SBC, but I would say it definitely had an impact, especially as there's a combination of both a repeatable SBC and a big SBC. And if we're going to go and, you know, we've still got these repeatable SBCs, which are rising fodder every day, and we're going to get big icon SBCs in high demand, we're only going to see them do better and better. But we talked about this in, I guess, in yesterday's video, how you're going to be careful what you're buying if you want to go and buy some fodder. Because if we go and look at the likes of De Bruyne, he's got a 30k price range. Now, EA do price ranges on a Tuesday and a Thursday, but traditionally EA's on a 2-week delay. This is why recently these guys had price range decreases. Like, De Bruyne probably would have had a price range of about 40-50k, but they decreased it to 30k because they're on a 2-week delay. So like 2 weeks ago, fodder would have been very rare. Now, sometimes EA do dynamically increase the price ranges of fodder, as in, like, we'll see a separate price range to the normal sort of schedule. But I wouldn't say it's guaranteed. We've gone prolonged periods of a week or two without fodder getting price range updates when it's all been extinct. So price range updates do occur on the Tuesday and the Thursday. So, you know, I guess there's just a heads up when we can expect price ranges if we do get them. But traditionally EA is on a 2-week delay, so we don't actually expect to go and get them. I don't personally expect to go and get them before Friday, but you know, they can occur. So as a result of us not expecting to get price ranges, and obviously I can't go and buy someone at 27k and 30k, what can I go and do? Well, if we go and look at the cheapest buy rating, what I can show you is a 90 rated with a price range of about 30k is going for about 27k. But also a 90 rated with a price range way above 30k is going for 32. Now, I'll be honest with you, 32 is not too good. You probably want to look closer to 30k. But yeah, so the idea is you wouldn't go and buy these guys, you'd go and buy these guys because they're only a fraction more, but they're not capped at 30k and they can rise and rise and rise. Same with the 89s, you know, if we go and look at the 89s, Odegaard, he's only got 3k between his current price and his max price range. I mean, you can make maximum like 1.8k per card. But Vlahovic, which again, you've been able to get for about 500 coins more, he's got an unlimited price range, meaning he's not going to go and get capped at the profit you can make. And when all these go extinct, well, then it leaves a lack of players for people to go and go out and be able to go and buy. So yeah, if you do want to go and buy fodder, and I guess the best performing fodder is the higher the rated, the better performing. So I'd ideally look at 90s, 89s, and 88s. You want to be looking at special cards in those ratings. And yeah, they've all got special cards. If we go and move to numero foot, you can see there is plenty of fodder in those ratings. Trap, obviously a fodder 90 rated, Naz a fodder 89 rated. If we move down to 88, can I find an 88 with ease? Wanderson's probably an 80. No, actually Gaton would be an 88 piece of fodder. So there's plenty of fodder for those ratings that you can go and buy. Just don't buy the gold cards with bad price ranges. So there's a brief talk about how the gold cards react, but maybe you got some expensive card, or maybe you're looking to buy some expensive card. So let's show you how the expensive cards reacted with the likes of Jairzinho. Obviously, Jairzinho was released on the Saturday. We've had a little look how right wings are. Yes, he can play striker, but I'd say his utility is more in the right wing and right mid. Well, how did Hansen react? Before he came out, she was 1.6 million. She went then down to 1.5 million on the day. And since there's actually, if I can go and find it, there you go, went down to 1.5 million a day. Has been lower if you just waited a little bit longer. So again, there wasn't really any hurry. And again, that's actually picking on specifically the lowest time. So Hansen has favoured waiting, basically, buyer. Neymar, again, the same thing, went down to about 1.7 mil on the day. But if you just waited longer, he went down even more. We then got the likes of Mia Hamm, if we go and look at what her trends were. On the Saturday, the initial release, she went down to 1.39. But she's gone even lower, and she probably will continue dropping. Bale, we can see on the day of the release, he went down from 900 down to 800, but he just continued dropping. Smith, we can see again, so we're starting to get slightly cheaper players. Now, what I started there is I started with really expensive players, and I moved on to cheaper and cheaper, just showing you how the percentage drop on the cheaper players was nowhere near as high as the percentage drop on the expensive players, because the reality is someone selling a 1.4 million Hansen and then going and buying it, or doing the Jairzinho SBC, is a lot higher than someone selling a 650k Smith and doing the 1.4 million coin Jairzinho SBC. It's not so comparable. With Smith, again, we can see went from 725 down there to 670, but actually she's managed to hold, I mean, she went down there to 600 briefly, but she's actually managed to hold a much higher percentage, or she dropped a lower percentage than other players. And again, we move on to the likes of Dembele, and we see he went from 560k, went down there to 600k on the day, down there to 560. Lauren James, again, was about 320 before he came out, went down there to 270, but has since held about that price. Chiesa, again, was kind of fluctuating up to 144, up there to 150, so he's a little bit all over the shop prior. Well, he's barely anything cheaper. And Dembele was 97k before he came out, and he's now 95. So you can see the cheaper the cards, the further away we're getting from the price of that Icon SBC, the lower the impact. But I'd also say, for the cards that are closer to that price range, there wasn't so much incentive buying on the day of the panic, and actually buying a few days later. Especially with us finishing Week in League. We'll talk a little bit later in the video when I think the most optimal time to buy cards that are probably going to get panic sold for the up-and-coming SBCs will be. So the first player we're going to go and talk about how the market will react will be the likes of Vieira. Now, Vieira's base card is coming in at, if I can go and find it, 1.5 million. So just like with the Jairzinho, the closer they are to 1.5 million, the more of the impact we think they're going to have. So what players do I think will have some of the biggest impact? Well, the players I think will have the biggest impact will be something like De Jong. Now, De Jong has already gone from 1.95 to 1.85. But I'll be honest with you, unless he goes down to like 1.6, I don't think you're in a hurry to buy it. I think you can go and wait it off. We then move on to the likes of Yaya. I think Yaya is a player that can be very easily replaced. Again, Vieira can play centre mid and CDM. Well, likewise with Yaya. Before the leak, 1.1 million, barely down anything whatsoever, especially for someone who's a close price. And we saw with the players who are close price to Jairzinho, they dropped a fair bit. And then obviously Vieira himself is another card that we can expect to see drop. Well, he's gone from 1.7 down there to 1.5. But if we looked at Jairzinho, if I can go and move over here, I think Jairzinho went from like 1.7 to 1.3. He did Saturday 1.7 down there to 1.3, and he seems to be kind of tailing back off again. So, 1.7 to 1.3, and I still think they can drop a bit more. So if we head back there to Vieira, what's he done? He's 1.7 to 1.5, so I still think there's room in Vieira to go and drop. And yeah, so Vieira, I can see him dropping players like De Jong, see him dropping players like Toure. Obviously, the closer you get to 1.5 million, the more I can see them drop. Another player might go and see ourselves getting today is Ronaldinho. He has been leaked to get an SBC. Is the most expensive SBC by far that we would have had this year. And yesterday we saw him drop off from about 3.2 million down to 2.9 million. Still think there's probably a lot more room for him to go and drop off. Now, what players do I think will be affected the most by Ronaldinho? It'll be your 2 million coin plus players. It can be the likes of your Thunderstruck Rashford. Let's have a little look if we see much of a drop already. We really haven't seen any drop on Thunderstruck Rashford. Another player that we might go and see a drop on might be Neymar. Ronaldinho can play cam. He can play left wing. Well, likewise with Neymar. And Neymar's gone from only 2.9 million to 285, so I definitely think there's room in these cards to go and drop. And then, of course, Ronaldinho himself. I do think that Ronaldinho also might stunt the rise or actually drop some of the cheaper cards. Stuff like this Di Natale that was recently released, I can also see him dropping him. And I can also go and see him dropping players who are just straight out only left wings. Players such as Eden Hazard. Now we move on to Stam. Now Stam's a little bit cheaper than Vieira and Ronaldinho, coming in about half the price of Vieira, and well, probably about 4 for the price of Ronaldinho. As a result, we can probably see him having a higher completion rate, especially as his card was insanely demanded on the release. If I'm not wrong, he was extinct at like 1.1 million, then went up to 1.6 million. So we know that the demand is there, and obviously he's sitting on an 85 pace, 91 defending, and 90 physicality, of which we haven't really had Evos or SBCs that close. Yeah, we had a John Stones this week, but I wouldn't say John Stones is quite on the calibre of Stam. So who do we think would be affected the most? I'd say expensive centre-backs, especially those are Heroes, Icons and Prem. I can see someone like Maldini, someone who's literally more expensive than Stam dropping, just because, again, you know, with the fodder people accumulate, they'll be able to do the Stam for cheap compared to Maldini. I can also see stuff like Saliba dropping, very, very comparable cards to Saliba. And of course, you know, Premier League's one of the most demanded, and Stam's got them strong Prem links. Top of that, and see cards like Thuram dropping. Obviously, Thuram does have right-back utility, but I can see him at least his base card dropping. And I can also see cheaper Premier League centre-backs dropping. For example, the likes of Company. Can I think of any others off somewhere? Maybe an Informed Van Dijk, if we have an Informed Van Dijk. Might not even have one this year. I know we got... Yeah, there you go. We could also go and see a drop of the likes of Informed Van Dijk. Now, I've shown you what cards I think will drop, but how long do I think they'll drop for? Well, it's quite interesting, because I was looking at the icons we got last year going into Team of the Year, and it's really weird, because obviously EA this year has really held back on dropping big SBCs, and last year they dropped loads of big SBCs, and then the SBCs they dropped going into Team of the Year actually weren't as big as the SBCs they dropped over Winter Wildcard. For example, we had this Thierry Henry, who was only 750, we had this Zico, who was 1.2 million, and we had this Cafu, who was 500k. Well, bear in mind we had like a Sabio Zidans who were over 1 million last year. But if we look at the SBCs we had this year, we've barely had any big SBCs. And now we're getting a 1 mil, 1.5 million and 3 million coin SBC. So I actually found it a little bit awkward to go and find players to go and compare them to, because really I think we're in kind of completely different circumstances. As in, there's a much lower chance people have done SBCs. Like if we go and look at last year, if people did a Saviour, if people did those SBCs, the demand for these might be a lot lower. But because we haven't had a Ronaldinho, we had the Vinicius Jr. But because we haven't had a Ronaldinho, we haven't had a Stam, we haven't had these SBCs, I think the demand can be a lot higher. So, as I say, we didn't really see anything interesting there. The player that I've decided to go and compare is actually the likes of Team of the Year George Best. Team of the Year George Best, I think, might be quite comparable as a icon SBC that mass replace players. The problem we do have is that George Best came midway through Team of the Year, whereas obviously these came before Team of the Year. But let's have a look how the George Best affected the market. So George Best came out on the 19th of January, and he was available to do until the 19th of February, so out for a whole month. So as a result, did he affect the prices for a whole month? You know, what did he do? Well, I've gone and loaded up some of those comparable right wings that he, you know, could have dropped last year, and we'll have a little look at what the impact was. So one of the main ones was Garrincha. Now, George Best came out here on the 19th. We can see how Garrincha dropped there to the 20th, but he didn't actually rebound too heavily until the 23rd. Now, that's because the whole market didn't actually rebound until the 23rd. So although, yes, it was a little bit cheaper with on the 19th, because I think that there's a lot less people doing SBCs this year, I think it might be a little bit more favourable to wait till more people complete these icon SBCs, because I think they're more in demand. So I don't mind buying him slightly inflated, because I mean, if we go and look at this, yeah, you would have bought him 20k inflated, but what does 20k matter when he goes up nearly 600k? We can go and then move on to the likes of this Garrincha, same sort of thing. SBC dropped here. Wasn't, obviously you're buying a little bit more here, 700, you're buying him up 39k. But the thing is, in reality, he went up another 200k. So I didn't really mind buying a player slightly inflated because of the amount they rose post Team of the Year. And what I think is very interesting is we didn't really see a long-term effect. Like, obviously, the likes of Best would have been out for a whole month. But it's not like we didn't see Grinch rise for a whole month. Yeah, we saw him drop initially, but then he went and rose after that. We can then go look at Salah. Now, Salah had a slightly interesting trend right here. And I think it might be due to his Team of the Year nominee card maybe coming out a bit more expensive than anticipated. Let me have a look how much this Team of the Year nominee card came out at. Team of the Year nominee card came out at 1.2 million. And how much was this card? Yeah, so I think that's what it might have been. Might have been maybe this card was more desirable because it had striker utility. That card came out 1.2 million, so we saw a rebound. So what we're saying right here is, yeah, he did go and drop with the likes of George Best, but he actually rebounded a bit faster than others. But I'd probably credit that down to the honourable mention maybe being not so desirable, and as a result, this card rebounded a bit. What else can we look at? We're going to look at the likes of Saka, and again we can see how he dropped going into George Best. Did actually rebound 20k after George Best, but was still cheaper around about the 22nd, 23rd, and then he rose from 344 up there to 460. So again, wasn't impacted long term by the likes of Best. The thing that I found a bit awkward with Best was actually finding icons that were really expensive in the right wing. Like last year, we didn't really seem to have any expensive right wing icon SBCs, which made it a little bit awkward for finding players that drop. Because obviously Ronaldinho is coming in at like 3 million coins, but there just were no 3 million coin right wings last year. Like there basically was no one more expensive than George Best, which did make for it being a bit awkward for comparing the players. But I think what I'd again, we got Grinch, Saka. I think I've gone for everything. Yeah. I think what I would do regarding buying players for these SBCs is I'd wait till the 21st, because the 21st this year is the equivalent to the 23rd last year. The market, again, should be nice and low there. And then what happened last year is they re-released all the team years. They're really rare and everything rose. And even let's say if they do go and re-release team years and they're not that rare and they don't rise that much initially, then I think they can go and rise after team of the year, if not in the last few days. So I wouldn't really worry. So for the players that are being replaced by these icon SBCs, I'd say if they're not already down like 10%, I think you could go and sell them and then rebuy them on the 21st. If they're down 20-30%, it's not worth selling to rebuy. And I do think it can all rebound through Team of the Year, unless for some reason they go and butcher Team of the Year price pack rate. One of the reasons I don't think they will go and butcher Team of the Year pack rate this year is because we've got such expensive promo cards already. It's not like this Van Dijk's coming out like 900k. This Van Dijk is millions and millions, meaning they really have to go against the pack rate they've already gone for this year for them to be cheap. So I think it's going to be another year where Van Dijk's extinct to like 10-15 million. So that's why I wouldn't worry about the market not rising on the 21st, because I'd be very surprised if they change up how the pack rate works. Other than that, we got a few other things that have been leaked or released. We had a Eric Bailly SBC, but no one cares. We had way more desirable SBCs, even way more desirable free cards. And an Ivorian who plays for Villarreal is just not a very desirable combo. On top of that, we got some interesting leaks of Evos. We got one interesting leak of an Evo where during Team of the Year we're going to get a Team of the Year Bronze Glow Up, which is 375k. But gives only +1 skill move, +1 weak foot, but gives all attacking playstyles. I mean, obviously that's probably going to give someone probably like a 90, 91 rated card. But yeah, very, very interesting. And then there's another leak, obviously not to do with bronzes, where a lot of the sentiments who seem to fit the Evo the other day fit another Evo, where they get base stats, playstyles, but no playstyle plus upgrade, but it is free. So pretty interesting there. I don't think he's released too much information regarding that, but that kind of covers all the leaks and all the content. Regarding investing, again, you can go and look at that non-restricted price range fodder. Regarding buying players who get replaced by the icons, I'd kind of just wait till the 21st to play it safe. But that's been that. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video.